Okay, this is the 2015 AP Calculus practice test, multiple choice section, and I'm going to try to get numbers 1 through 14 done on this video. So number 1 is, it just says to integrate 5e to the 2x plus 1 over x dx. Okay, so this part is, the way we did this in class is a u substitution. You might be able to do it a little faster than that and just kind of think through it. But I'll go ahead and do the u substitution. U is going to be 2x. Du would be 1/2 dx. Right? And so we could rewrite that part as 1/2 out front. I'm sorry about that. Du is 2 dx. So we'd have 1/2 du is equal to dx. So we'll rewrite this, the first part of the integral, as 1/2, and then I'm going to go ahead and bring that 5 out front, 5 right there, e to the u du. So it's going to be 5/2 e to the 2x. And then the second part, 1 over x, you just have to remember that the antiderivative of 1 over x is the natural log of the absolute value of x. And then plus c, so that is answer B. So we started out with a very doable one. You could probably look at the answers without doing the work and eyeball the right answer on that one. You know natural log of x is going to be part of it, and that's just b and d are the only ones there. So that one I think you could get pretty quick. All right, number 2. F of x is equal to the square root of x plus 3 over the square root of x. And we want to know, what is f prime of 4? Let's rewrite f of x as x to the 1/2 plus 3x to the minus 1/2. So f prime of x then would be 1/2 x to the minus 1/2 minus 3/2, bring that negative 1/2 down front times a 3, x to the minus 3/2. All right, and we'll get f prime of 4. That's 1 over, and let's bring this x to the negative 1/2 down into the bottom. So 2 times the square root of x minus 3 over 2 times the square root, remember the radical square root of x cubed. So that's going to be 1 over 2 times the square root of 4 minus 3 over 2 times the cube root, square root of the cube root of 4 cubed. So square root of 4 is 2, so that is 2 times 2 is a 4th, minus square root of 4 cubed. 4 cubed is 64, so square root of that is 8, so 2 times 8. So that is 1/4 minus 3/16. 1/4 could be written as 4/16, so 4/16 minus 3/16 is 1/16, and that is answer A. So I think that's also a very doable problem. All right, takes a minute. Probably going to take you your full 2 minutes on the first two, potentially, but still not bad at all. Okay, number 3. We're integrating x squared times x cubed plus 5 to the 6th power dx. This is a u substitution. U is x cubed plus 5. Du is 3x squared dx. I need du to be x squared dx, so 1/3 of do is x squared dx. All right, I have tried Mountain Dew Zero. Now I don't like it as well as my regular diet Mountain Dews. It uses sucralose instead of aspartame, and I guess I'm just used to the aspartame. So, information that you did not need. All right, so we got a 1/3 out front, and then I'd have u to the 6th. Right, u to the 6th du. Since x squared dx is in there, and that's du. So that'll be 1/3 times 1/7 u to the 7th. So that's 1/21. We'll put u back in, which is x cubed plus 5 to the 7th power plus c. And that is answer E. Again, it'll take you a minute to wade through it, but hey, don't rush. Don't rush too much. You can do this stuff. All right. Number 4, we have got a table of values. I'm going to go ahead, not in a huge hurry here. So 0, 4, 25, 6, 38. You're probably, hopefully you're fast forwarding through this, and 50, 12. The question says use a left Riemann sum. So that means you use the left side to get the height of the rectangle. And they tell you the intervals 0 to 25, 25 to 30, 30 to 50. So our estimate of 0 to 50 f of x dx is going to be the area of these 3 rectangles, okay? Rectangle 1, rectangle 2, rectangle 3. All right, rectangle 1 has a base of 25, 0 to 25. The base comes from the x. The y value, the left height is 4. Rectangle 2 has a base of only 5. What is the height? It's the left of the 2, which is 6. And then rectangle 3 has a base of 30 to 50 is 20. And the height is not 12, but 8, the left height. So that'll be 100 plus 30 plus 160. All right, so that is 260 plus 30, which is 290, and that is A. Boom. So there you go. I think maybe you're 4 for 4 so far. Number 5. Okay, it says we have f of x is equal to, and we have a piecewise function, x squared times sine pi x. We have x squared plus cx minus 18. And this one, x is less than 2, and this one, x is greater than or equal to 2. The question says c is a constant. For what value of c is f continuous at x equals 2? If it's continuous, this top one at 2 will equal the bottom one. Okay, because at x, what that's saying is at x equals 2, if we're graphing this thing, and I have no idea what the graph looks like, but x equals 2, the one on the left, let's say it was like that, and then let's say the right function looks, it's parabola, let's say it looks something like that, okay? If it's continuous, when you plug 2 in, these two are going to be equal. So we would have x squared sine pi x is equal to x squared plus cx minus 18 at x equals 2. Let's plug in 2. 2 squared sine of 2 pi is equal to 2 squared plus c times 2. Let's call that 2c minus 18. So that's 4. What's the sine of 2 pi? It is 0. Is equal to 4 minus 18 would be negative 14. So 2c minus 14. So we have 0 is equal to 2c minus 14. 14 is equal to 2c. 7 is equal to c. Let's see. That's B. Kaboom. Cooking with gas. All right, number 6. What's an antiderivative of 3 secant squared x plus 2? Okay, well, what's the antiderivative of secant squared? It is tangent. Don't forget the 3 plus 2x. Right? It'd be easy to pick part A, wouldn't it? Because you would say, oh, the antiderivative of 2 is 0. No, that's the derivative of 2. All right, so that is going to be B. Man, you're all over that. You killed it. All right, 7 is a little weird, but it's not that hard, so I'm going to show you how to do it. It says f of x is x squared minus 4. What is the derivative of f of g of x? All right, f of g of x. So it's like, what? What you want to do is you plug g of x into x squared. That'll give you f of g of x. So f of g of x is equal to g of x, all squared. We have to square it, remember, because x is squared, minus 4. So the derivative, f prime of g of x. Okay, so this is like a chain rule. So it's 2 times g of x. We bring that 2 out front. And then the blop is g of x. So times g prime of x. So 2 times the blop to the first, then times the derivative of the inner function, the blop. So 2 times g of x times g prime of x. And that is D. All right, we're halfway done with this video. All right, maybe a little more than halfway, because you're going to like what I'm going to do with number 8. Number 8 is not worth the effort, I don't think. So how about we skip it? All right, make a guess, pick your favorite letter, or you can look over it and try to whittle some down, but that one we're going to skip. Number 9, it says f double prime of x is equal to x times x plus 2 all squared. Where is f concave up? Well, to get concavity, you take the second derivative, x times x plus 2 all squared, and what do you do with it? You set it equal to 0. All right, we need to get those critical points. Well, the inflection points. So what values of x makes this 0? Well, one of them is 0, because if that's 0, the whole thing's 0. And one of them is negative 2. So let us do a sine line with our inflection points, negative 2, and bagel. All right, to the left of negative 2, let's say, I don't know what, negative 10. So you'd have a negative 10. This portion's always going to be positive. Negative times a positive is negative. Right? So that part is going to be concave down. Let's pick negative 1 for this interval. So that's going to be positive times a negative. That's a negative. All right. So that really, negative 2 wasn't really an inflection point, was it? And then greater than 0, let's pick 1. So that's going to be positive times a positive, so positive. So it's going to be, the concave up part is when x is greater than 0, which is b. All right? Boom. You guys are acing this one. Number 10. All right, it says y is equal to sine x cosine x. X is equal to pi over 3. What is dy dx? Okay, that means take the derivative. So we have its product rule. The first, sine x times the derivative of cosine x. That's negative sine x. First times the derivative of the second, plus the second cosine x times the derivative of the first, which is also cosine x. So that's cosine squared x. All right, so y prime of pi over 3 is going to be, let's pull that negative out front, negative times sine squared of pi over 3 plus cosine squared of pi over 3. Okay, sine of pi over 3 is root 3 over 2. You have to remember that. We have to square it since it's sine squared and there's a negative out front. Cosine of pi over 3 is a half. So we have a half, square it. So that's going to be negative 3/4 plus 1/4, which is negative 1/2, and that is A. All right. Excellent. You could do that. Unless you forgot what the sine of pi over 3 and the cosine of pi over 3 is, and then you'll be sad. Or you'll never know. It's actually more like the second, you'll never really know. You just get your grade in July, and you're either sad or happy. Number 11, we have the limit. As x approaches negative 3, x squared minus 9 over x squared minus 2x minus 15. All right, we could factor and cancel, blah, 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 but let's use that new thing we learned, L'Hopital's rule. L'Hopital. You take the derivative of the top and the bottom. All right, derivative of top is 2x. Derivative of the bottom is 2x minus 2. Let's plug in negative 3. That's 2 times negative 3 over 2 times negative 3 minus 2. That is negative 6 over negative 6 minus 2, negative 8, which is going to be 3/4. Is 3/4 an answer? It is. It's C. Man, oh man. Bring on the L'Hopital. Why couldn't I teach you that way back in chapter 1? Because we hadn't learned derivatives yet. Okay. Number 12. All right, we have y is equal to cosine 2x. The interval is 0 to pi over 2. What is the average rate of change? Well, average rate of change, it's not instantaneous. Instantaneous rate of change is where you take the derivative. The average rate of change is equal to the slope of secant line. So that's going to be the change in y over the change in x. So that's the cosine of 2 times pi over 2. All right, again, that's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. All right, cosine of pi over 2 gives you y2 minus the cosine of 2 times 0 over pi over 2 minus 0. So that's going to be cosine pi minus cosine 0 over pi over 2. Cosine of pi is -1. Cosine of 0 is 1 over pi over 2. So that's going to be -2 over pi over 2. That's -2 over 1 times 2 over pi. That's -4 over pi a. You could do it, you could do it, you could do it. One thing that might get you is that one of the other answers is 4 over pi. So that would, you know, if you got your negatives wrong, you could mess that up. All right, only 2 more for this video. And I'm going to get some lunch. More extraneous information. We have y cubed plus y is equal to x squared. What is dy dx? All right, let's ddx that thing. Do you remember the name of this? It starts with I, the name. When you mix up the x's and the y's, I'll give you a second, Sawyer, Alea. Implicit differentiation. So we have 3y squared dy dx plus dy dx is equal to 2x. We'd have 3y squared plus 1 if we factor out the dy dx. Solving for dy dx, that's 2x over 3y squared plus 1. That is e. Right, you'd be all over that like stink on a monkey's butt. All right, 14. If you know what you're doing, it's a really easy and quick one. They give you an original function f of x that looks like this. They're saying, okay, which of those options is the graph of the derivative? Well, the graph of the derivative is just slope. F prime of x is slope. So what they're saying is the slope until this point here, right here, the slope, the midway slope is negative. That means f prime of x on that part is negative. And on this part, the slope is positive, so f prime of x is positive. So we need a graph that from the y-axis to the midpoint, it's below the x-axis, below the x, because it's less than 0. And then to the right of that midpoint, it comes above the x-axis because the derivative is greater than 0. And the only one where that's true, eyeball it, is D. Okay? You see, I don't know if you can see this or not, but D goes below and then above. So the derivative is negative, negative slope. The derivative is positive, positive slope. So that concludes this video. I will get the next half of the chapter 15, not chapter 15, the 2015 practice test. I'll get the next half of that, the multiple choice no calculator part, on the next video. All right, so happy calculusing.